Hi, it's Obo975 and welcome to Elite Dangerous on the Legacy version on Xbox. But today's video is about freedom of speech and recent changes in law, so if you're not interested in that sort of thing, click away and watch one of the many videos on my channel that don't feature anything political. But today we're talking about the online safety bill and UK's attitude towards free speech in general. So this is a subject that I've banged on about for a while. I talked about the Online Safety Act when it was coming out, when they first passed the law a couple of years ago, and I warned that it would be a big shake-up. But it has now passed that time.
Shit, here we go again.
Big parts of the law have now come into effect, and we're starting to see the consequences of that. A big increase in people using VPNs, for one. But there is going to be so many weird and wonderful unintended consequences from this ridiculous law, which is massive overreach for the sake of protecting the children. But here's what Keir Starmer said recently when he was in the White House about freedom of speech in the UK, which we all found odd.
Certainly we wouldn't want to reach across US citizens, and we don't, and that's absolutely right. But in relation to free speech in the UK, I'm very proud of our history there.
Are you serious?
I personally don't know how Keir Starmer can keep a straight face and say that. JD Vance had basically accused Europe of clamping down on free speech and the UK clamping down on free speech. I don't know how you can say that when convicted paedophiles have a lesser sentence than people who made Facebook comments. People legitimately trading child pornography on the internet have got lesser sentences than people saying unsavoury things on Facebook. And yet there's Keir Starmer in the White House saying that he was, he's proud of his history of free speech in the UK. Freedom of speech like arresting Christians for silently praying in their own heads. Not even saying, but this is thought crime. And this is why people in the UK are getting, generally upset about the state of play. And the online safety bill, well, it's come in under the guise of protect the children, and basically it's age gating everything, which, pornography should be age gated to children. I have no problem with that. That makes perfect sense to me. In fact, if you were to go onto a child's smartphone and switch on their parental settings, and then go onto your home internet and switch on the parental settings, you would actually achieve everything the online safety bill is offering by a couple of clicks. In fact, you offer more protection than what the online safety bill is offering. I loved this example. This example is amazing. If you complain about your daughter's school on WhatsApp, I think it was 6 policemen turn up to the house, search the house, seize all your goods, seize all your electronics, and hold you for 9 hours questioning. I mean, yeah, if I was Keir Starmer, I'd look away at that one. But yeah, the Online Safety Act offers less protection to parents than activating their own parental controls. And why parents aren't activating the parental controls, I don't know. It makes no sense to me. But yeah, they brought in the Online Safety Act with its facial recognition software, and within 5 hours children had already worked out a way around it using Death Stranding's photo mode. I kid you not. It was breached within half an hour, and word of mouth will spread, and every teenage kid who wants access to porn will have access to porn, because they're smarter than the people putting this into action. They're smarter than the companies that are putting these facial recognition software pieces out there. Let's face it. When the police are arresting people for offensive Facebook posts, you can't say your record of free speech is strong. And when you've put a wonderful line we'll get to into the Online Safety Act, you really got to worry. Because at the moment, incitement to violence is a breach of free speech. We all agree on that. That's a good line to have. But in the UK, no, that's not good enough. No, hurty words must be covered, because you can't dare to hurt someone's feelings. And as I said before, we've got Islamophobia laws coming in soon, which is just going to add to this whole mess. But at the moment, free speech is heavily curtailed in the UK as it is. If you wanted to protect children from online predators, you wanted to protect children, then maybe toughen the sentences for paedophiles, and maybe look at prosecuting people with much harsher penalties for peddling in pornographic images. There was recently a high-profile case of an ex-BBC newsreader and he got a very slight slap on the wrist for trading in child pornography. He should have gone down to prison for many years for that sort of thing. That's at least what most people in the UK feel. And then you get the online safety bill saying it's all about protecting the children. You're like, but you're literally letting predators walk free from court, and also ignoring predators because of their racial or religious background, and refusing to investigate. And also there's this massive amount of unintended consequences. If you ran a small website that had any interaction, people talking to other people, you're now under these Ofcom regulations and standing to face £18 million fines, or $25 million or £18 million fines. A lot of small games and small companies that run websites can't afford that. They can't have a forum section or inter-game chat. There was a zombie game that had to shut down after 17 years because it was a coordinated community game where there's player interaction through text chat. Can't happen now unless you police that text chat and you satisfy Ofcom's regulations. We had the free speech social network chat basically close its doors, shut her up and say, no, we're pulling out of the UK. And in fact, I think there was a good few thousand websites that just pulled out of the UK straight away when this happened. In fact, a lot of things are going to happen because of this law. As you can see, they literally said, because of the Online Safety Act, we've blocked entirely to the UK. You can now only get into Gab, the free speech social network, if you use a VPN. The irony is hilarious. And of course, VPN sales have shot up. You'd think this law was brought in by people who own VPNs. It's absolutely amazing. They're now probably going to be looking at banning VPNs or something in the future. It's just hilarious. But yeah, this law has massive unintended consequences. We're going to see that play out. The next stage is they're going to look at encrypted messaging services and basically seemingly demand they have a backdoor, which I'll link to a video from a couple of years ago where someone to do with Telegram or Signal is discussing that with a politician, and it's just ridiculous because things are either private or they're not, and encryption is either private or not, and weakening encryption's a terrible idea. And here we go. Now it's no longer an offence, just to incite violence, if you cause non-trivial psychological or physical harm to a likely audience. What? Who's defining what is and isn't, significant psychological harm? And who's deciding what content is just very vague and can be used to censor anything? In fact, if, for example, we had a right-wing Christian government come in who are heavily into censorship, they would love these laws. They'd straight away ban anything promoting LGBTQ plus stuff, or banning anyone discussing being a homosexual, for example. And how much has this cost us? Well, they've already spent $56 million by the end of 2022 or 2023. I hope that wasn't for that facial recognition, which lasted 30 minutes before it was breached. And ongoing costs. Just look at these costs. They're ridiculous. They are planning on charging the companies an annual levy to pay for this. But if all of Europe start bringing these in, if all the countries around the world start bringing these legislations in, companies are just going to pull out of areas because it's going to be expensive to operate under having to pay for your own legal downfall. It's bizarre. Honestly, I don't see how this has anything to do with protecting the children when you could have just told people to put on parental controls and they would protect the children more than this does. I see this about censorship. They're already stopping or blocking posts talking about riots that are going on in the UK at the moment as not suitable to be viewed in the UK. This legislation can be used just to silence people, and it is no wonder that the people in the UK are basically looking at their government pretty much like Idris Elba looks in this clip.